Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I'm going to talk with you about leads. In particular, I'm going to go through a bunch of best practices for purchasing leads. I'm not a big lead fan. I'm not a big fan of buying leads, but I do understand that it's a great place if you're getting started or still building your book of business. I think that some of people are really doing great just buying leads. So it's doable. It's just hard. I do believe this. I do believe that ultimately it should be your goal to at least evolve to the point where leads aren't your sole activity base. And eventually, maybe they're just one of your marketing arms. I say that for a couple of reasons. Number one, ROI. It's an expensive way to go, especially if you're talking about high leads or high expense leads like annuities or life or long-term care as opposed to maybe a Medicare lead. The other reason I think that eventually you want to evolve to get off of those is just simply because your business model is dependent a lot of times on the success of a third-party vendor that's creating or selling you those leads. And that's just not where you want to be. You don't want to be dependent upon the success of another company, determine what your success is. But with all that said, a lot of people buying them, a lot of people running their business off of it, a lot of people making a lot of money off of it. Today, I'm going to talk about, again, best practices that I think you should be doing when you're purchasing and running these leads. And I'm going to, probably hone in a little bit more on higher cost leads like life, long-term care, and annuities and the processes that you should be thinking about if you're doing those leads. But a lot of the principles still apply, even if you're buying final expense or Medicare leads. Let's start this off with expectations, okay? And I want to talk specifically about what I call phase one, which is getting in contact with this said lead. If you really have a great process, a great prospecting process to get in touch with these people, you should, on average, make contact with 70% of your leads. But you've got to have a great process and a follow-up process to get a hold of these people because, as you know, if you've done this, lead comes across your desk, you call them up, there's not a big percentage of those people are going to answer that call right away. There's a process to it. First obvious, best practice would be, being available and trying to take, if they're inbound, trying to take that inbound call as they come in. If they're outbound and you're getting an email with the lead, best practice would be try and call them immediately. You know they're at their computer, at their phone, that's in their mind. You want to try and contact them real quick to when that lead comes to you. Obviously, that's not going to happen every single time. So let's say you don't get a hold of that person right away. Well, you can't just call 5 times a day until they answer the phone. They're going to get annoyed. They're going to recognize that number. They're going to be turned off if you ever do get a hold of them. So you have to have some type of protocol in place for how and when you're going to call them. The best stuff I've heard, I guess cumulative stuff from the people that really do great at this, is they'll maybe call once or twice that first day, obviously right away, maybe again in the evening. And then over the next couple days, they'll periodically try and call, but they try to do it at different times. So if you called in the morning and the evening on day 1, you might try the afternoon on day 2. Maybe you try again another evening, day 3. Then you got to stop for a minute. Maybe now we're going to try once or twice on the weekend. And if we still haven't got a hold of them at that point, I would say time to leave a message or send an email or both. But you can't just keep calling them every day. And then after that, once or twice a week until you get a hold of the people. This is the part, in my opinion, that sucks the most about buying leads and having to get a hold of people is this follow-up process and feel like you're begging for them to talk to you. But if you're going to convert and get a hold of 70% of the people and really have a great ROI at this business model, then you've got to get really good at this prospecting stage. That's what I would do on the phone. The next step, which again, it's absolutely vital if you ask me if you're going to be working leads, is you've got to have a CRM in place. And a CRM starts working for you. So instead of you calling them once or twice every week forever, they start getting maybe once a month, maybe a little more frequently, an email from you, staying in front of them. You never know. They might have did a little bit of research, but they're really not at that buying point right now. And 2 months from now, they might be at that buying point. You got to keep your name in front of them, even if you haven't talked to them. Okay, I want to talk to you now about phase 2, which is just as important as phase 1. We finally got a hold of them. Now what do we do? I want to talk to you about what your sales process is now that you've got this lead on the phone. So again, I'm specifically talking right now about, annuity leads, life insurance leads, maybe long-term care leads, but leads that are expensive where you got $200 to $500 wrapped up in this lead. In my opinion, it's worth an extra $15 to, as soon as I get that lead, I may send out what we call an overnight packet. And we send that overnight packet either through overnight, if we can. I really think that's the best. You can also do it through an email, but it gets sent out before we even try and contact them. Or at least in between. I tried right away, didn't get a hold of them. Now I'm sending this. That'd probably be what my recommendation would be. In this overnight packet, it's pretty simple, but I've got in there a bio about myself. I've got into there maybe some basic product information, like some general stuff about life or general stuff about annuities. I've got in there what really is the most important piece, which is explaining the process to them. The biggest reason most of these people don't answer your phone call, you can't get in touch with them, or they disappear, is because they're afraid that you're going to try and give them this big high-pressure sales pitch and they don't have to say no. So the best way around that is by having a sales process that you explain to them. And I'm going to put this in my packet, and I'm also going to have this and explain it again once I get into my actual call part of the process. But that process to me sounds something like this. I'm going to explain to them, today is our, we need to get in touch with each other so we can do appointment number 1, which I'm just going to get some basic information from you about your goals and your concerns, figure out what you're looking for. Then we'll talk again maybe a week after that, and I'll kind of hone in and give you some options that are out there. I'll probably ask a little more detailed questions based on some of the options I gave you. Then we'll talk a third time where I'll really come dialed in and I'll give you what I think a recommendation is. After that, stage 4 would be if you want to call me back and say I like to do business, then I'll help you out at that point. But the point of this is making sure that they feel at ease, that these first few conversations where you're building rapport and really getting to know them, building the relationship, they don't have to worry about this big sales pitch. It will immensely increase your contact percentage back with them. Okay, so that's the presentation part, the presentation packet part. Again, some people send that out right away. I'd probably try and call them first, then send it out, but I always send it out. I'm always willing to spend $12 to $15 on a $400 lead. Okay, I think it's just good practice and it'll help you out. After we've done that, we're moving into our real first call with them. And again, maybe you got to hold them on the first time, so this might be happening first. On that first call, you've got about 3 steps that need to be accomplished. Number 1, you better have a real polished intro that explains who you are, a little bit about your company, tells them enough to be comfortable with continuing on with the rest of the conversation. It's just vital. They got to know who you are. That's got to be polished. Then we're going to work into a fact finder. On this initial call, if you can do a complete fact finder, awesome. That means they're really interested. If they're a little edgy on answering questions and stuff, understandable. They've only known you for about 2 minutes at this point. So you may have to do a very condensed version of a fact finder, really just focus on what their goals are, what you can get out of them. And then we'll complete that fact finder on the next call. The third thing that has to happen, though, on call number 1 is we have to go through that process with them again so they're not afraid to pick up the phone next time we call in here in a few days. Intro, got to get the best fact finder you can, and you've got to set up your sales process. Now we're on to stage 2, and that is how you're going to be able to push these people all the way through your sales process. On average, they're going to tell you, most people will tell you that you should close around 25% of the people you contact. All right, so you're talking maybe 15% of the leads you're going to make sales on. And obviously with life and annuities and long-term care, those are big comp things. You can make a nice ROI with that. But boy, working that process is vital. Once we've got them into our sales funnel and our sales process, once again, that CRM, it's of the utmost importance. Here's the stats. 1/3 of the people that you talk to and make a sale on, they're going to want to do business right away within the first few weeks. 1/3 of the people, they're going to be more like 90 days out before they're ready to make a decision. And 1/3 of them may not happen until 6 months or later when they really get to that buying moment. Well, if you never talk to them again and hope they're just going to call you back from your couple conversations, that's going to happen a very small percentage of the time. You have to have a CRM to follow the prospecting and stay in front of them so they'll continue to contact you when they're ready. And you really got to have a CRM with different messages and It's all upfront work. You do it up front, and the CRM will take care of it with drip marketing going forward. But you've got to be able to stay in front of those people that you've got a fact finder on that you know are going to do something at some point. So when they get to that point, they really get more serious about it, you're the person they call. Got to have a CRM. Okay, let's talk about kind of some stray best practices now. Number one, don't ever call these people a lead. That's probably hopefully elementary, but it's a amateur mistake a lot of people make is saying, hey, I got this lead. Don't tell them that. Call them a client. Call them whatever you want. Call them by their first name. Don't call them a lead. If you have, when you're picking where your leads come from, if you have the ability geography-wise to choose, you're going to have a lot more success rural than you are in the city. And that's simply because of pressure. There's a lot more financial advisors and agents that are looking to go after money in the city. The rural markets, they don't get touched or marketed near as much. So if you have that opportunity, you definitely want to circle out rural more so than you do city. Next thing I guess I would say here is know where your leads are coming from. Know what they're seeing. What's the ad that they're clicking on? You got to know what message they're clicking on so that you can right up front on initial phone call address, hey, I see you're looking for safe money options. I see you're looking for retirement planning specialists or how to leave a legacy to your family. Whatever that message is, you want to make sure you know what that message is they're clicking on or responding to so you can get that right up front so they know why you're calling. And then I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but you just have to stay in front of these people. When you really learn the facts and the statistics, a lot of the conversions happen down the road, CRM or bust. I hope it's a CRM, but you got to keep your face and your name in front of them so when those buying points happen, you're their person. A lot of stuff when it comes to buying leads. I hope some of these best practices help. I'd love if you want to make comments. If I missed some best practices that work for you, that you didn't hear me list, help out the community and put those on there. If you've got questions or more topics on this issue that you want me to elaborate more on, let me know in the comments or reach out to me through my email address. Hope this was worth your time. We'll look forward to seeing you in our next video.